phone call last Friday on this deal, so and I don't have the materials in front of me, so bear with me because I got this assignment at 4:13 last Friday.
No, I got it.
So it's my understanding that you are, I guess, a construction consultant for Miss Smith, and Miss Smith has a water damage loss, and we're trying to resolve that. Is that right?
Yes.
All right. So, and I don't have the file materials in front of me, but once you give me the Cliff Note version of what the problem is and what needs to, your opinion of how it needs to be resolved.
Wouldn't do it.
Understood. Well, let me get the file, and I'll work with you, and we'll sit down and go through it and figure out from A to Z, and short circuit this thing and get this thing resolved. So
perfect. I don't think it'll take that long, honestly. It's pretty easy.
They email me the files. It comes through a particular software program, so I'm waiting to get that. I probably have it today, tomorrow. And once I get my hands on it, I'll reach back out to you. I got your phone number here off my caller ID, 832.
Yep, that's my cell.
All right.
I'm packed this week, but next week I think I only have one meeting all next week. So just give me a call anytime this week, and we'll set something up for next.
Yeah, if you don't hear from me, reach back out to me. It's not that I'm ignoring you, whatever. You and I are gonna meet face to face. We're gonna go through the file.
Okay.
And we'll fix it.
All right, appreciate it, man.
Amen. Thank you.
Bye.
Machine broke down about 2:30, and then I decided I was going to play hooky, and so I went home early and didn't work, and then, of course, I have to pay for it today.
Yep.
All hell breaks loose. So I got the file in. My paralegal, my secretary, has put it together. Honestly, I have not looked at a single page of the documents. There's a shitload of paper. The file's a lot bigger than what I anticipated, but it is here. The file has been put together, but I wanted to call you back because you called me earlier today, and I just wanted to call you back and let you know I got the file, but I have not looked at it yet.
Do you work with State Farm a lot?
Yeah, I've been with them for 20 years.
So do you know who is with State Farm, and apparently I'm the agent. He's also in Texas.
I know him as I don't know him. I've not worked with him through State Farm.
So he's my agent, and I've known him for 25 years. My agent for State Farm. I legitimately, up until about 2 years ago, everything I own is in State Farm. You know what I mean? Like, State Farm's a legit company. But through all of this, the only thing I want besides getting this lady her money is, man, State Farm is really screwing their reputation with a lot of people. Because I mean, their adjusters refused to go into the job site because they were going to be recorded. And just like the craziest stuff, they're telling me they didn't adjust the claim a certain way. But then if you look at the document they sent to her, it literally has that guy's name on it, right, saying that exact thing in the notes. It's like,
well, let me look at the file. I understand, there's people do shitty jobs in every company, and God bless State Farm. It's why I get to work, and I love it. And don't get me wrong, I appreciate the fuck ups. Otherwise, I wouldn't have a job. But let me get my hands on the file and get through it. And if there's a need that I need to talk to the insured, I'll let you know beforehand so you can tell her, hey, Jason needs to talk to you, whatever, and I'll even give you a heads up so you can tell her what it is I want to talk to her about, and from there I'll go to her. Okay. But let me get my hands wrapped around this beast. I've been a one-armed paper hanger here lately. I've been so fucking busy, but I told you I was going to get through it, and so let me get my hands through it and get an idea of, how we got to the situation that we got to. and then
she would like
I don't care about why we got there. I need to figure out how we got there, and then back our ass out of it in order to resolve the claim.
Yeah, and I mean, here the only thing that I would say is it's like I told you before, it's fairly easy. It's just Waterly. She did also ask me to ask you if you would like for her to pay for like one of those umpire mediator guys to come in and write up, because there still has not been. Luther back in October wrote up a floor plan, so you do have a pretty accurate floor plan to go off of, which is good. But she had requested that from State Farm. They had agreed that they were going to set that up and contact her, but then they never did. So she didn't know, and they've asked me multiple times to write it up, and I told them that I'm not an adjuster, so I don't feel comfortable writing that up. If she pays someone to write this stuff up, I mean, it shouldn't cost some stupid amount of money. I would imagine $600 at the absolute most. Is that something that you would be authorized to cover in this, since State Farm keeps asking for her to provide it?
I mean, I'm going to have to ask State Farm, and normally on this, there are two things. When you asked me two different questions. Number one, you said an umpire, but she would have to invoke appraisal in order to get to an umpire, or to request an appraiser.
She did. She sent a letter to State Farm, and then he even.
But you can't invoke appraisal unless before you get an estimate to dispute. So there has to be a dispute of the value of the amount before you can invoke appraisal, according to the law.
Yeah.
Now, she can hire a public adjuster, but I think that public adjuster, two things. One, it's going to be more than $600, and two, he's going to want a percentage of whatever she.
I'm not a fan of public adjusters.
Getting.
That's the main reason why I've liked my job, is because most of the time they don't need a public adjuster. I come in, I give them all the facts. I'm just there for the construction stuff.
Let me go through the file and figure out why the fuck we don't got an estimate or exactimate document or any of that, and then I got to get back with my adjuster and say what the fuck, or give me the explanation, and let me get my hands around it, because I'm not even in the damn forest, dude. I'm in a whole different state right now, trying to figure out what's going on, and I'm hearing you, and I'm not doubting you, because I've handled cases similar to this before, not just with State Farm, but other people. So I'm not doubting you. I just got to get my head in the game and figure out what all the players are, and then come up with a plan on getting an estimate.
Miss Smith recorded the interaction between Luther, who was the adjuster from before. And that's the adjuster. When you read it, you'll see that he's referred to by Bill, the current adjuster. Luther is referred to multiple times in that. He is the one that met me and Miss Smith back in December, and basically said, yeah, all this stuff was already authorized, rip that out. Like, he recapped 5 or 6 times all of the stuff that needed to still be demoed and ripped out. And so she had sent that audio over to them, because they said, yeah, if an adjuster told you to rip it all out, we're going to have to back what he said. But now there's not been any response, and that was sent to them over a month ago. So she's still, like, living on this sticky floor. I mean, not living there, but you know what I mean. She's still at that limbo of, like, do I rip this out? Do I not rip this? What are you telling me to do and not telling me to do? So that's kind of her situation. She doesn't know what to do. She didn't know if she needed to meet you. And then also, if you need to see what the stuff looks like for yourself, the condition of the property is almost identical to that video from October.
Okay.
Or no.
Well, I'll get through the file. I promise you I'll get through it. Once I get through it, I'm going to circle back around with you. Let me get my ducks in a row. Let me figure out who's done what and why what balls got dropped, and then we'll circle back around, okay? I just wanted to touch base with you today and not ignore your phone call and let you know that I got it. So I was calling you back just to let you know where I was on my end.
Hey, I appreciate it. I appreciate my oversharing of info here. I'm just making sure I don't forget anything. So I appreciate it.
No, I got you. You know what? A lot of it is once I get in and start understanding everything, it'll be a lot easier for me to comprehend. Right now, it's kind of like mass overload of information, and so I'm taking it in, but sometimes it's in one ear and out the other until I can actually digest and see the paper. So, but I'll get to it, and then when I do, I'll circle back with you.
Hey, I appreciate it, sir. Thank you.
All right.
Bye.
All right. Obviously, Jason calling you on Miss Smith's deal, so apologize for the delay, but I've been in and out of the office. I sent a letter over to Miss Smith just to paper the file and to make sure that I got the appropriate authority to speak with you, and of course she emailed back, so that's cool. And then I guess you emailed my secretary for whatever reason instead of me, but I've reviewed the file, and there's several points. Obviously, you got the list of things I need from Ms. Smith. One thing I'll address right off the bat is the moisture reading report. And while you did a report underneath the Valhalla Ventures, it's not an expert report. This is your readings of it. I need an expert report from a certified fella in reading moistures. Do y'all have one of those?
Is that required in her policy?
Well, it's not required in either policy, but it's going to be required to address your continued issues of what there's moisture in the floors and stuff.
The problem is, if you looked at the paperwork, you'd see that in December, State Farm sent out a adjuster, and that adjuster, with his own eyes, witnessed, accounted for, and agreed with those moisture readings being elevated.
Look, are they elevated now? Do you have anything, any type of expert report?
Well, I'm not sure what that would have to do with anything, because they were elevated then, and that means that it should have been authorized to be removed then.
Well, how do you know if it needs to be removed now?
Because anything after 7 days. I mean, there's laws and rules and regulations, and
Well, here's what you need to do. You need to take the current.
Here's the thing. Hold on 1 second. We need to back up a little bit, Jason. Here's the problem. I don't think you read the report. Because
I got the report. It's right here in front of me.
I understand you got it, but having it and reading it are two different things. Because the things that you asked for in your letter to the homeowner are things that State Farm already has and is in the report. So that's the problem that I'm having, is I'm having a hard time believing that you would know that you have those things and then turn around and ask her for those things. So that's why I'm saying I don't believe you actually read the report, because the report would pretty clearly tell you that an adjuster from State Farm already came out in December, already walked through the property, looked at all of it. It's documented. You guys have a copy of that documentation, where he authorized the demolition of these things because of moisture readings, and now she just wants to get paid for it.
Jeff, go get a contractor, and the contractor can start the demolition and start the work with the estimate that's been prepared. Once there's something that needs to be addressed, or there's a difference in the contractor's opinion versus the State Farm opinion, then that can be issued to State Farm for consideration for a supplemental report.
But the problem is here's the thing: they haven't adjusted the claim, and both Bill and your other guy, what was his name, Matthew? Bill and Matthew both admitted that there hasn't been an actual adjustment of the claim, that it has been an accumulation of invoices, but that they have not added anything to this claim. State Farm has not adjusted this claim. They have not come out, taken accumulation of measurements, told her these are the things that are damaged, and then given her a documented analysis of what's going on. You can look at it.
Y'all have an Xactimate report, don't you?
No. We have a piece of paper that is used Xactimate documentation, but it says per bid. The problem is per bid is referring to, according to Bill and Matthew, is referring to a bid that's almost a year old from a contractor that was never hired. So,
which you used to work for.
No, I've never been an employee or worked for.
All right.
I'm an independent construction consultant, so I've been hired by lots of people. But that doesn't have anything to do with me right now telling you that is outdated, incomplete, and incorrect. Wouldn't really seem like I worked for.
Well, here, State Farm, you are correct in that State Farm utilized the estimate that was created by that. You are correct. Now, and they adopted that and said, okay, we're going to use that as the estimate, and Ms. Smith can take that to her contractor. If the contractor gets in there and says, hey, there's something different, the prices are wrong, and this measurement is wrong, and this needs to be done, then submit that to State Farm, and State Farm will then consider it for approval.
Well, here's the issue there, Ms. Beth. She hasn't had State Farm adjust her claim. Because State Farm...
But you don't have to. State Farm can't adopt somebody else's estimate.
Okay, but here's the problem with that. They can't adopt someone else's estimate, and then when they look at it, say, this estimate is wrong and incomplete. We are going to fix this, and tell her for month after month after month not to move forward on those things she was told verbally until it's in writing. And so you're telling her to hire people and move forward, but the problem is they're telling her not to do those things, that they haven't authorized it. And then when you say, okay, well, let me send you the audio from the guy walking around authorizing all of it, they go and hire you. So there's audio.
I will send you the estimate that State Farm has adopted, and when I send you that estimate, I will send you...
But you can't adopt an estimate from a random contractor that she didn't hire.
State Farm can adopt whatever they want to.
Okay, but so what you're telling me is if State Farm says, like you're telling me right now, go get someone to estimate this, okay? And then she says, I don't want to hire that person. They're not giving me a complete estimate. State Farm says you're right. They're not giving you a complete estimate. Let me come back out.
State Farm's telling her to go get her own contractor and start the rebuild based on the estimate that State Farm has adopted.
No, that's not what they said, though.
That's what I'm telling you.
I understand, but that's not what they have been saying for the last 6 months.
But that's what I'm telling you. That's what I'm telling you on May 12th. I'm telling you that right now. I will resend the estimate.
Let me explain something to you, Ms. Bath. In the state of Texas, it's required for her to hire a contractor to do this work, for her to have the money to pay that contractor. It's required for her to hold that money in trust.
She can go to her mortgage company that's holding $70,000 and say, "Hey, I've hired a contractor. Release the funds so I can start my build."
She hasn't been given $70,000.
Her mortgage company is holding a buttload of money.
No, I understand, but it's not, sir, that's not how the construction world works, though. You can't go hire a contractor and say, hey, I have part of the money, and I may or may not get the other part of the money, but I'm going to hire you.
The money that has been paid is based off the estimate that has been adopted.
Sir, you have had multiple adjusters come out there and state that State Farm failed to give a proper adjustment, including a supervisor and the person that everybody was told is normally a desk agent who's the expert in adjusting claims. And when he came out there, he didn't even bring a moisture meter after making a claim that there was no way that there was still moisture in the floor. Didn't even show up with a moisture meter. Then refused to go into the property. They have told her not to do these things. And now you are telling her, okay, go ahead. Well, can you in writing say that all of the things that State Farm has authorized, not in a thing that's not even valid anymore, it's gone up 9%. The exact cost for construction buildback in Friendswood, Texas has gone up 9% since that bid was given.
And if the contractor comes back and says that this cost to do these repairs are 9% higher, then he can submit that to State Farm, and State Farm will, pay it or consider it and approve it and move on at that time. It's no different than...
You can't, listen, the problem is you didn't give her any of her build-back money at all in that time frame that the cost went up 9%. So you hadn't given her any of her build back money. You can't say we'll decide if we're going to give her. We know costs went up by 9% and we didn't pay her any of that money. But now that the costs have gone up 9%, we'll consider maybe giving her that increase that we caused?
Once the contractor says X, Y, and Z, this has gone up by this amount.
But she's not required to hire a contractor.
She's required to hire somebody to build her house.
No, she's not.
So how is she going to get it done then?
She can do it herself. What do you mean?
She can't do it herself.
Why?
You know what? Then she can start that now. She ain't doing it. Don't give me that, Jeff. I'm trying to help you, dude, and I'm trying to tell you.
You're not, because you're not trying to help me. And please don't. I'm not a dude, okay? I'm a professional.
All right, listen. All right, then my phone calls. If you're gonna get smart, then my phone calls over. We deal with
You're calling me dude and getting and
then email me. You email me from now on. You don't call me. You email me.
I'm gonna post this audio. I'm gonna post this audio on the internet for people to hear how.
That's fine.
And talk about and remember what you said about
now on.
Remember? No. You said you were done talking. You said you were done talking. You don't get to then talk over me.